Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Frequency Shift podcast with Alexis Gallagher and Susan Elliott. So, tonight or today, wherever you are, we are still studying The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy, and we're on chapters 10 and 11. And so he starts out he's talking on chapter 10, it's your right to be rich. And he's talking about the power of your subconscious mind. And these two chapters show your inner beliefs, how they shape your relationships and your imagination and create your reality. These chapters are simple, direct, and life-changing. So we'll dive right into chapter 10, is your right to be rich. He says, you have a fundamental right to be rich. You're here to lead the abundant life and be happy, radiant, and free. You should therefore have all the money you need to live a full, happy, and prosperous life. And some people might say, oh, that's not right. It's greedy or it's not good, which I don't, I used to think that too, but I don't believe that. I think we're here on this earth to live the most abundant life, to have everything that we need to help others. I mean, if we are here to fully express and expand, we need all the money that we can use to do that, to live comfortably and to also help in any way we can. I saw the greatest thing. I saw a reel, which I'm sure other people have seen this, where somebody can't pay for their groceries and there's a person in line behind them and they just use their card and pay for their
Or
groceries. And that is just, I love that. That is
yeah,
wonderful.
yeah, it's really cool.
So he goes on, he says, money is a symbol. Money is a symbol of exchange. To you, it is a symbol not only of freedom from want, but also beauty, refinement, abundance, and luxury. It's also a symbol of the economic health of the nation. When your blood is circulating freely in your body, you're healthy. When money is circulating freely in your life, you are economically healthy. When people begin to hoard money, to put it away in tin boxes and become charged with fear, they become economically ill. So Bob, as our mentor, always talked about the story when he was young, a young boy. There was somebody down the street who would like go through and like hoard garbage and stuff. And anyway, this person ended up dying and they went into his house and they found boxes full of money. And
Hmm.
so he lived so frugally, but yet he had money. And Bob talked about it. It's not meant to be hoarded. Money is meant to be circulated. Obviously, we're not saying to spend, spend, spend and not have savings, but it is meant, there's a certain amount to save and it's meant to be free flowing.
Hmm.
He says, money and a balanced life. He says, one time a man came to me and said, I am broke, but that's all right. I do not like money. It is the root of all evil. These statements represent the thinking of a confused, neurotic mind. Love of money to the exclusion of everything else will cause you to become lopsided and unbalanced. You're here to use your power or authority wisely. Some people crave power, others crave money. If you set your heart on money exclusively and say, money is all I want, I'm going to give all my attention to amassing money, nothing else matters, you can get money and gain a fortune, but at what cost? You have forgotten that you are here to lead a balanced life. You must also satisfy the hunger for peace of mind, harmony, love, joy, and perfect health.
It's so important. Yeah, because you can work yourself right literally into a grave amassing money, or if you're lucky enough, just until you're sick enough to then go turn around and spend all your money on getting better and healthy again. So
Right,
it is
right.
absolutely about that balance. And And money just is. It isn't bad, it isn't good, it just is. And it's energy, it has ears, it listens. When we call it, it comes. Um, and the lust for it is not good, right? Again, because you're not in that balance. But um, and just as anything, it should never be used um to be applied negatively to others or to wrong other people to get money. Then you're not in harmony with the universe. You're not understanding. You're then more on a competitive plane versus a creative plane where you're learning how to really attract money to you.
Exactly. Yes, that's right. It's not good or bad. It's your thinking about it and your feeling about it that makes it one or the other.
Hmm.
And a lot of people don't understand that. I didn't understand that either. So, yeah, we're not judging people. We're just here to help you understand better. And so he goes on, he says, why you must never criticize money. Cleanse your mind of all weird and superstitious beliefs about money. Do not ever regard money as evil or filthy. If you do, you cause it to take wings and fly away from you. Remember that you lose what you condemn. You cannot attract what you criticize. And that's in everything. If you
It's,
criticize
yes.
things, it's going to go away instead of
Yeah,
come.
anything, your house, your car, whatever it is, your spouse. Yeah, just being grateful. And so and that this is a really good tip. I would say this is like the challenge for our listeners this week is when you get that bill, right? The masses are really good at, let's say they get their energy bill, especially if you're here in California and maybe you're getting your bill from PG&E and stuff. There's a lot of negativity around that company. And so you might be caught in the mass thinking where, oh, gee, what a ripoff, what a scam, super easy to get caught up in that. But instead of that, whenever you receive your bill, credit cards, water, electricity, garbage, whatever it is, you sit with that bill and you don't look at it until you're ready. And when you're ready, it's going to be when you're so thankful for this bill because you had water flowing through your house, because you were able to turn on a light in your house, and you're just overfilled with gratitude. And you say, thank you for this. More money for me, more money for me. And when you give yourself enough time to really feel that, and then as you're paying your bill, you're just saying thank you again, and just watch what happens.
Exactly. Another good point is actual currency says right on it, in God we trust. So when you're
Hmm.
releasing it to pay your bill, you say, in God we trust. Or if you're using your debit card, in God we trust, because you're going to imagine tenfold coming back to you.
Yeah, I love that, Susan. That's great.
Yes. So he goes on, he says, getting the right attitude toward money, which this is such a great way, this affirmation to heal your money wound. You cannot attract money if you don't heal your wounds and you analyze where that came from. It could have come from when you were a little kid and your parents said, money doesn't grow on trees, and it's evil and it's this and that. And you need to get rid of that and heal that wound to attract it to you. He says, I like money. I love it. I use it wisely, constructively, and judiciously. Money's constantly circulating in my life. I release it with joy and it returns to me multiplied in a wonderful way. It's good and it's very good. Money flows to me in avalanches of abundance. I use it for good only, and I am grateful for the good and for the riches of my mind.
That's beautiful.
I know, I love that. So he's going on talking about how to heal it and how, it is your right to be rich. He
Hmm.
says, how to attract the money you need. Many years ago, I was a young man in Australia who told me that his fondest dream was to become a physician. So he's telling a story about this young person that wants to be a doctor, and he didn't have the money to go to school. And so this young man would clean doctors' offices. And so that's what he did. And he would Look at the diplomas on the wall and polish them and clean them. Anyway, so Dr. Murphy told him, he said, start saying these affirmations and seeing yourself and visualizing yourself as a doctor. So anyway, this young man continued on. He was taking classes, and it wasn't very long before one of the doctors in the practice asked him if he wanted to be a physician's assistant. And he helped pay for him to go to school. And so this young man did so well in school that the doctor funded him the money so he could go to school, and he became a doctor. And
Wow.
so I know, it's amazing. It's amazing. So basically, and he used his subconscious mind, visualizing it and seeing it, and it came true.
Hmm.
And he goes on, he says, why some people do not get a raise. He said, let us say you work for a large corporation. You believe that you're underpaid. You resent the fact that you are not appreciated by your employers. You constantly mull over your conviction that you deserve more money and greater recognition. By setting yourself in mental opposition to your employer, you are subconsciously severing your ties with the organization. You're setting a process in motion. Then one day your superior tells you, we have to let you go. In a real sense, you dismissed yourself. Your superior was simply acting as the instrument through which your own negative mental state was confirmed. This is an example of the law of action and reaction. The action is your thought, and the reaction is the response of your subconscious mind. So that's a powerful story. Basically, you're planting a negative seed saying, oh, I'm worth more. Oh, they don't appreciate me. And then you're basically dismissing yourself.
Right.
So he says obstacles and impediments on the pathway to riches. He said he's talking about a person that's praying, and he prays in two different ways. He said on one hand, he's saying, I wish wealth would flow to me now. But in the next breath, he's saying that fellow's wealth is dirty. It's an evil thing. This contradiction is a signpost on the road to poverty and misery. Always make it a special point to rejoice in the wealth of another person. I think we kind of talked about this before, to envy somebody else. Like you see somebody depositing a large amount of money and you're like, oh, well, I bet, you say something to yourself in your mind, oh, something negative. Oh, he's probably dealing in something that's not
Hmm.
legal. Well, you don't know that. So rejoice in that person's wealth, and the
Yes,
law
yeah.
will take care. He goes on, he says, you cannot get something for nothing. He says, in large stores, the management hires guards and store detectives to keep people from stealing. Every day they catch a number of people trying to get something for nothing. Anyone who does such a thing is steeped in a mental atmosphere of lack and limitation. In trying to steal from others, they're robbing themselves of peace, harmony, faith, honesty, integrity, goodwill, and confidence. Furthermore, the message to the subconscious mind draws to them all manner of loss of character, prestige, social status, and peace of mind. These people do not understand how their minds work. They lack faith in the source of supply. If only they would mentally call on the powers of their subconscious mind and claim they are guided to their true expression, they would find work and abundance. Then, by honesty, integrity, and perseverance, they would become a credit to themselves and to society as a large. So that's the ending of that chapter. And we're moving on to chapter 11. Chapter 11 is titled Your Subconscious Mind as a Partner in Success. And he says the true inner meaning of success is to be successful at the enterprise of living. A long period of peace, joy, and happiness on this plane may be termed success. The eternal experience of these qualities is the everlasting life spoken of by Jesus. The real things of life, such as peace, harmony, integrity, security, and happiness, are intangible. They come from the deep self of human beings. Meditating on these qualities builds these treasures of heaven in our subconscious. So that is so true. And there's a lot of great teachers that say to dwell on that, dwell on peace, harmony, integrity, and abundance, and you're going to bring it to you. It's so easy to dwell on what's right in front of us, which is the physical, instead of tapping into our imagination and holding our focus on that.
Hmm.
He says, he's talking about the 3 steps of success. The vital step to success is to find out the thing you love to do and then do it. Unless love your work, you cannot possibly consider yourself successful, even if the rest of the world hails you as a great success. Loving your work, you have a deep desire to carry it out. If someone is drawn to become a psychiatrist, it's not enough for her to get a diploma and hang it on the wall. She will want to keep up with the field, attend conventions, and continue studying the mind and its working. She will visit other clinics and pore over the latest scientific journals. In other words, she will work to keep herself informed in the most advanced methods of alleviating human suffering because she puts the interest in her patients first. So yes, it's so important to do what you love because you can't excel at that. Everybody knows that. A lot of times we are just led, oh, we have to pay the bills and we have to get this job. But deep down, if it's not something that you absolutely love, that you will not excel at it. And so the next part of this chapter is the measure of true success. At this point, you may be thinking, what about the guy I saw at a show about? The one who had made hundreds of millions of dollars from shady stock deals. He's a big success, and as you'll ever see, and I don't think he cares a bit about benefiting humanity. Such cases are all too common, but we must be careful to understand them for what they are. Someone may seem to succeed for a while, but money obtained by fraud often takes wings and flies away. Even if it does not, when we rob from another, we rob from ourselves. The mood of lack and limitation that led to our behavior manifests itself in other ways as well, in our body, in our home life, and our relationships with others. So, yeah, we advocate that you excel in every area of your life, not just financially.
Right.
And so then he's going on, he's talking about a man that made his dream come true. In Hollywood, I met an actor whose name is probably familiar to every moviegoer. He confided to me he had grown up in a small town in the Midwest. His family was just scraping by. His only entertainment was a black and white TV. Even so, he began to dream of being an actor. The dream occupied him more and more. All the time he was working in the fields, he said, I'd drive the cows back to the barn. I imagined I could see my name in big letters at the theater. I saw every detail. The crowds of fans, the interviewers clamored to speak to me. Finally, I left home, came to Los Angeles, and got work as an extra in films and TV shows. Before long, I got my starting role. The night of the premiere, I drove to the theater and almost fainted. There was my name in lights. There was the crowds and the new reporters, all just as I imagined them. I, more than anyone, understand how the power of sustained imagination can bring success. And probably a lot of you have heard of Jim Carrey. I think it was $10 million. He wrote himself a check for 10
Yeah,
million.
it was.
Yeah, would drive up to Beverly Hills and overlook it, and he just kept visualizing. And then Dumb and Dumber, I think, is the movie that
Yeah,
really made
yeah.
it big.
Yeah, he had wrote himself a check, for dated it Thanksgiving, I don't know, some year in 1995 or something, whatever. And yeah, and it all came true for him.
So then he's going on, he's talking about there was this pharmacist who worked and she wanted her own store and her own pharmacy. And she couldn't really see how it was going to happen. And she began to visualize and work with Dr. Murphy. And one day, well, what happened is the pharmacy she worked for ended up closing, and she started working as a rep selling, I think it was prescriptions. But then she ended up meeting somebody who she went to a neighboring town, and this person was retiring, and he was selling his pharmacy in a store, and she ended up buying it. He lent her the money to buy it, and he didn't want to sell it out to a big chain. So she bought it and ended up working. She was the pharmacist, and her true passion was to help people. And she said, I wanted to people to call me in the night and say, "Oh, my child is sick, and would you please prescribe something?" And she visualized this for years in advance, and she was the person who they called. And she said she knew she would know all the people by name. She imagined this, and that's exactly what happened.
Wow.
And so he goes on, he's talking about using your subconscious mind in business. And he said, some years ago, I gave a lecture to a group of business executives on the power of imagination in your subconscious mind. In the course of the lecture, I described how the great German poet Goethe used his imagination wisely when confronted with difficulties and predicaments. According to Goethe's biographies, he was accustomed to filling many hours quietly holding imaginary conversations. He would imagine one of his friends sitting across from him and answering him in the right way. In other words, if he were concerned over any problems, he imagined his friend giving him the right and appropriate answer. Accompanied with his usual gestures and tonal qualities of voice, he made the entire imaginary scene as real and vivid as possible. One of the people present at the lecture was a young stockbroker. She proceeded to adopt the technique. She began to have imaginary conversations with a multimillionaire investor who knew her, had once congratulated her on her wise and sound judgment in recommending stocks. She dramatized this imaginary conversation until she had psychologically fixed it in form of belief in her mind. This broker's inner talking and controlled imagination certainly agreed with her aim, which was to make sound investments for her clients. Her main purpose in life was to make money for her clients and see them prosper financially by her wise counsel. She is still using her subconscious mind in her business, and she is a brilliant success in her field. She was recently interviewed in an article in a major financial magazine.
Wow.
So he goes on, and this chapter has more and more success stories. And
Hmm.
so that's what we're discussing here and picking out some highlights. Um, this one, he says, how to become successful in buying and selling. Remembering your conscious mind is the starter and your subconscious mind is the motor. You
Hmm.
must start the motor to enable to perform. The first step is conveying your clarified desire and relaxing and so that it goes deeper into your mind. Immobilize the attention, get still, and be quiet. The quiet, relaxed, peaceful attitude of mind pre- prevents extraneous matter and false ideas from interfering with your mental absorption. Furthermore, in the quiet, passive, receptive attitude of mind, effort is reduced to a minimum. So he's talking about how what we've talked about, you go into that sleepy, drowsy state, and that's when you plant those ideas. I think it's the theta. I have a chart here of brain waves, and that meditative state is called the theta state.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, Jose Silva teaches us to go there and
yes.
think of, yeah. The more relaxed you are, the more free-flowing you are, the better and faster it will all manifest for you.
So he talked about this young woman who would attend his lectures and how she used some of his techniques, and she wrote him a letter. She said, "Dear Dr. Murphy, I knew that I had to have a car for my personal growth. There was no other way I could go unattending your lectures. I decided that as long as I was trying to obtain a car, I'd try to obtain the car I'd always dreamed about, which is a Cadillac. In my imagination, I went through all the steps I would go through if I were actually buying and driving a car. I saw myself going into the showroom and test driving the model I was interested in. I claimed that Cadillac as my own over and over again. I kept the mental picture of getting into the car, driving it, feeling the upholstery, and so on, consistently for over 2 weeks. Last week, I drove to your lecture in my Cadillac. My uncle in Inglewood had passed away and left me his Cadillac along with his
Wow.
entire estate."
Yeah, and that's exactly why we can never think of how it's going to come to us because that's when we start to go against the law of non-resistance. And we just all we are meant to focus on is the what, and then the universe is going to be the one to decide on how, who, and it all comes to us. So it's science, but it feels magical when you're working with it.
Yeah, so our job is to plant the seed, and the subconscious does that. Here's another great book. It's really thin. It's called Money is God in Action. This book is a great read. It's only a few pages long, and it helps, like I said earlier, heal your money wounds and talk about how money is meant to be circulated and not hoarded. And it's a
Mm.
great book. So, in summary, chapter 10 teaches your relationships reflect your beliefs that you hold in your subconscious mind. So, when you expect harmony, you attract harmony. When you expect conflict, you recreate conflict. And so, Dr. Murphy reminds us that forgiveness clears negative mental images and opens the door to better experiences. Change your inner picture, and your relationships change. And then chapter 11, he talks about focusing and visualizing. Your subconscious responds to images, not logic. So whatever you consistently imagine becomes, and remember, we always say imagine with emotion. You can think all you want, but if you have a negative feeling about it, then it's going to bring something negative. And so your imagination becomes a blueprint for your life. Emotion strengthens the picture, and repetition imprints it into your mind. Visualization, it's not fantasy, it's mental creation.
Yeah, absolutely. You're using your one of your higher faculties and you're creating in the what you're going to be experiencing and it absolutely works and I've used it. I know it's true and it's a really amazing part of being in the human experience.
Exactly. So, and that's what Alexis and I teach. We're very excited that you're here with us. And we have just published our website. So we're going to start putting that link in this YouTube channel and the frequency shift so that if you want to learn more about us and about diving deeper in, then you can go straight to that link and visit us there.
Can't wait to hear from you all, and we are so grateful for every listener here at the Frequency Shift. We love you. Have a great week, and we will see you next time.
Thank you. Bye bye.